If you loved what the Suicide Squad brought to the table, then you'll be happy to hear the upcoming HBO Max spin-off series will keep the insanity going. John Cena is returning as the titular superhero, whose heroics are, at the very least, morally questionable, and James Gunn has teased a no-holds-barred series that will give us a lot of what makes the Suicide Squad great. While Palak paneer is usually known for cubes of paneer cheese, this plant-based tofu version is the same dish you love with a vegan twist. In fact, might give us much more, because this could be an ongoing series. How Peacemaker differs from the Suicide Squad. The Hollywood Reporter spoke to James Gunn about anything and everything regarding the Suicide Squad and his future with DC Comics projects. When conversation came around to Peacemaker, Gunn teased what's in store for fans. There are a lot of similarities to the Suicide Squad in that it's no holds barred, but there are also a lot of things that are very different, in that it's quieter in some ways. One of the best parts about Indian food, besides all of the incredible flavors, is the simplicity of creating authentic dishes that are already suitable for vegetarians without making any substitutions. It's very specifically about a different group of people, so it's a little bit more about society. Peacemaker will differ from the Suicide Squad in its approach to the characters. It is extremely common to be vegetarian in India due to religious practices found in Hinduism. Without a massive ensemble to worry about, Gunn can dig more into Peacemaker and one of the other show's lead characters. Not everything is vegan, but many traditional dishes such as palak, a thick paste made from pureed spinach, are easy to make vegan by substituting a dairy-free alternative such as coconut milk for milk or tofu for cheese. I love this dish because it uses a ton of spinach and I am a huge fan of using greens at every meal, says recipe developer Miriam Hahn of UCare Self-Care. The director explained, one of the leads is Peacemaker and one of the leads is Danielle Brooks, who plays Letta Adebayo. And she has a very different political view of the world than Peacemaker does. Hahn has dedicated her life to maintaining a healthy lifestyle and is all about incorporating plant-based recipes into her diet. So it's just a little bit about what's going on in the world. But also being a TV show, you really do have more time to delve much deeper into these characters and much more deeply into the drama and comedy of them. So it has a lot of similarities to the Suicide Squad, but it's even more grounded, more natural and more real. You won't miss the meat in this palak, as the delicious spices bring this dish to life. Gather your ingredients for your palak tofu. You'll need a block of extra firm tofu, about 12 ounces. But it's still within a big science fiction storyline that lasts for one season. Peacemaker and Letta Adebayo aren't the only characters who we'll dig into throughout the series. Characters played by Steve Agree and Jennifer Holland will also have key roles. Gunn explained, John Economos and Amelia Harcourt are part of the main 6 of the Peacemaker show, and it's been so fun working with those guys. They're obviously 2 of the closest people in the world to me. So it's been just as fun as the Suicide Squad. It probably would have been more fun than the Suicide Squad if I didn't have to wear a mask the whole time, but yeah. Peacemaker Season 2 and beyond. Even though that big science fiction storyline only lasts for one season, Gunn hasn't ruled out keeping the series going. You'll also need a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes, fresh spinach, half a cup of coconut milk, and 2.5 teaspoons of oil, divided. Palak is nothing without its incredible array of spices, so you'll want to make sure that your pantry is stocked with all of the basics. Gather salt, pepper, smoked paprika, chili flakes, garlic powder, ginger powder, chili powder, and cumin. Something that might not already be in your pantry is garam masala. The filmmaker went on, the main storyline lasts for that season, so that doesn't mean there's only one season of. You can bet that if the Suicide Squad is a big hit and follows in the same footsteps, HBO Max will want to keep going for as many seasons as they can. Plus, James Gunn is already working on some other possible DC Comics projects to follow up on once he's done with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at Marvel Studios. You only need half a teaspoon, but it's essential for bringing all of these flavors together. Press your tofu. The first thing you'll need to do is take your tofu out of its packaging and drain the water. Perhaps we could be looking at a variety of spin-offs focusing on various members of the Suicide Squad. Peacemaker is slated to arrive sometime in January 2022, but a specific release date hasn't been announced. Cool posts from around the web. Next, grab a tofu press and use it to remove any additional water. It's important to press the tofu because it is packed in water and the excess water will make the tofu soggy, Han says. If you don't have a tofu press, however, Han recommends placing your tofu in a shallow bowl or dish lined with paper towel or a dish towel, then placing a flat plate on top and weigh it down with something heavy like a cast iron skillet for about 20 minutes. Making the palak base while your tofu is pressing, it's time to mix your spices. Combine the salt, pepper, smoked paprika, and chili flakes in one bowl and keep it aside for your tofu. In a separate bowl, mix the garlic powder, ginger powder, chili powder, cumin, and garam masala. This will be your spice mix for the tomatoes and spinach. Heat a teaspoon of oil in a large stockpot and add the tomatoes and spices and sauté on medium heat for 2 minutes. After that, add the spinach and stir for 2 minutes until it's wilted. Lastly, you'll want to add in your coconut milk and blend with an immersion blender right in the pot, or use an upright blender. Brown your tofu and add it to the palak sauce once your tofu is done pressing. Chop it into cubes and place it in a bowl with 1/2 teaspoon of oil, and your tofu spice mix from earlier. Toss everything together and heat the remaining 1 teaspoon of oil in a pan on the stove. Add the tofu and cook it for about 15 to 20 minutes, stirring occasionally, until it starts to brown on all sides. Lastly, add your cooked tofu to the pot with your palak spinach creation. That's it. This dish is great on its own, Han says, but I usually serve it with rice and pita bread. Naan would also be a good call.